Welcome back. A growing number of children in the Western Cape are entering the youth justice system. Children as young as 12 are being detained for crimes such as rape. According to the Department of Social Development, the demand for placement of children with behavioral challenges has increased significantly. So what are the factors that are contributing to this rise, and what challenges does it pose for the province's social services? Let's now bring in the Western Cape Social Development's Head of Department, Dr. Robert Macdonald. Dr. Macdonald, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. So speak to us about what the province has seen when it comes to children being in conflict with the law.
Good morning, and thank you for having me on the show. We, as the Department of Social Development, are responsible for taking children into what are known as secure care child and youth care centres if they have been sentenced or if they are awaiting trial for committing crimes. We do find that many of the children who come into our system are committing petty crimes like shoplifting or other things like that, and there we can divert them and ideally not place them in secure care. But where children are involved in more serious crimes like shootings or sexual offences, then the department needs to then accommodate those children if they are sentenced or awaiting trial in secure care.
Yeah, and the age groups of these children, in our introduction we speak of children as young as 12. Are those the similar data that you have when it comes to the youngest children being in conflict with the law?
Well, the Children's Act also stipulates, and the Child Justice Act stipulates the age at which a child can have criminal capacity, and that has changed to the age of 14 in South Africa. So children as young as 12 may be committing crimes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be sentenced. But the children that come into our facilities are starting from the age of 13 because they can also be placed into secure care for behavioural challenges. And there is a very large number of children who are placed for behavioural challenges. Even when they've committed a crime, the courts can decide to change it to that kind of placement instead of actually convicting them.
Yeah. According to this report, it says that among children awaiting trial, the most prevalent offence was assault causing grievous bodily harm, accounting for 20% of all of the charges. This was followed by rape, which accounted for 19% of all of the charges against children awaiting trial. What does this tell us about the ability of children to resolve conflicts, number one, but also when it comes to the question around rape, the understanding of what consent means, but also that perhaps maybe you're too young to engage in sexual behavior?
Well, I think what it's telling us is that there is a fundamental breakdown in many cases of the parenting-child relationship in our society. And there is a number of children who are, I think, trying to become adults very much at a young age because they are lacking a proper connection with their parents and proper care. And this is resulting in children whose brains are not fully developed at that age, even in their late teens, in engaging in extremely harmful and risky behavior. Really the fundamental problem is a lack of parenting support and guidance to children right from an early age. By the time they reach their teens, it's often too late for their behavior to be brought under control.
Is there anything distinct in terms of the demographics of some of these children, where they come from, in terms of the socioeconomic conditions that are part of the system or that have been enrolled in the system?
Well, just some of the distinctions are particularly around gang activity, where we see gangs associated with certain areas, depending on the gangs that operate in those areas. So children are being initiated into gang activity at quite a young age in areas where gangs have a very strong presence. So gang activity is one of the most significant markers of where there's differences between different communities.
Yeah.
In terms of other crimes, it's less distinct.
Yeah. With the argument that you just put forward now about proper connection with parents, are we seeing that some of these children are coming from homes where there's a single parent, perhaps maybe a home being headed by the mother or just maybe just the father? What is it telling us about the nuclear family setup?
Well, unfortunately, the reality is that many of these children are orphaned or vulnerable children. Of course, we try to take those children into the system as quickly as possible where we pick up cases or cases are reported to us of children in this situation. But equally, there's the reality now where both parents often have to work and are away from the home all day long. And when they get home, they don't have the energy or the time to actually spend time with their children. So unfortunately, the current economic climate is making it very difficult for children to have access to caregivers. And of course, some children are fortunate where the grandparents can step in or another family member, or they are placed into professional care. But in other cases, the children are left to their own devices, which is a very risky situation.
Yeah, it's a very important point that you make there, Dr. Macdonald. Just quickly on my personal experience, coming from poverty, one of the things that I've always shared with people is that the upside to it was that my mum was unemployed, but every day after school, going back home, I would find my mum there and she would be ready to help me with my homework. But because of the economic status or the economic situation that the country finds itself in, and also an expectation that both mum and dad must actually work, it means that the parents don't have enough time that they spend with the child. But who then plugs that hole? What plugs that hole?
Yeah, I mean, I think in South Africa, we do see a lot of extended families stepping in many cases, but where the extended family is not in the province, or if the extended family is also have their own challenges, then that isn't possible, and that does then leave a gap. We try to fill that as the state with things like schools and after-school programs and other things, but it's still not a complete replacement.